The Pixelbook is kind of like a platypus. It's made up of a bunch of different parts that shouldn't seem like they go together, but somehow do. So as the Pixelbook gets to be about a year of life, we're expecting a revamped version to come from Google in the coming weeks. So I thought it would make sense to do a final review, a last revisited, of a laptop that I've been using pretty much every day for the better part of a year. Now, when we did our initial review, I was pretty jazzed on it. In no way does this computer make sense financially. It's $1,000 starting point for a Chromebook, and the value is clearly not there. This is an extravagant purchase. I'm testing the baseline version. It's been great for me. It's a Core i5 and 8 gigs of RAM, which should be absolutely overkill for Chrome OS. You could spec it up to, I believe, $1,700. But now as that year starts to tick and the calendar starts to go on, there are discounts to be had on the Pixelbook. So the initial thought was the thing that it was best at was battery life. When I did initial review, I was getting almost 10 hours of battery life. It's gotten significantly less awesome from a battery standpoint over time. Now I'm hovering almost around half that, between 5 and 6 hours, and my use has not changed at all. All that's really changed is software updates, and maybe the battery is not as good as I initially thought, or it's not aging as well as I would have initially thought. So the big draw behind the Chromebook for me was I could use it for days and days and days and not really worry about charging it. That is becoming less true. And as battery life seems to be getting worse, the computer itself is becoming less useful to me. And things work pretty well inside of Chrome. Most of the work I do is inside of there, and it runs Android apps now as well. And it runs almost a full catalog of Google Play apps. So that's been nice to have those options. But a few caveats. Oftentimes I found myself dealing with duplicate apps, not knowing which one to use. Slack, for example. The Chrome web app is awesome, but the Android app is sometimes useful as well, especially when it comes to notifications. So you end up with duplicate apps, and you're not sure which icon is necessarily which. That has kind of been confusing. Otherwise, Chrome OS has been surprisingly full-featured. So using this computer, I have had no issues. I've had no slowdown. It's played 4K video. It's done everything I've needed it to do with speed and alacrity. But if you guys can't guess, I'm a sports guy. I had my fantasy football draft, and I do it through Yahoo, and it's all done through Chrome. And I was doing my draft. I didn't bring home my laptop. Figured the Chromebook would be fine. When I launched the page to do the draft, the computer slowed to a halt. I couldn't scroll through players. It almost was like the thing absolutely froze. It was unusable to me to do this fantasy draft. That was the first time I really saw maybe limitations of Chrome. It's certainly not a hardware limitation since it's got a Core i5 in it. So not a hardware issue at all. It was something that was going on with Chrome OS. And I tried to do a little more research on what Yahoo uses. It's not even a Flash experience. It was just Chrome struggled on it. Now that's one instance. And that was really the only time I've had a problem. And I won't run into that problem until next year when fantasy football season comes around again. But it did again give me a little bit of pause about the utility, or at least the long-term utility of the Pixelbook. So the software experience aside, the hardware has been absolutely awesome. And it's held up really well. I had worries about these sort of silicone pads on the side getting dirty. They look pretty much brand new. And again, I'm using this thing all the time. The screen's been absolutely awesome. It's been beautiful. I haven't had any dead pixels or things that have happened. The bezels are still ginormous on this. Obviously the bezels didn't shrink over time, but I thought I'd stop noticing them, and I'm still very aware of how giant the bezels are. But I'm also still aware of how great the keyboard is. The keyboard throw has been awesome. The shortcuts across the top make things that you want to do a lot easier, like volume control, even shortcuts for screenshotting. Google Assistant is here as well, a dedicated button for it. I've actually very rarely used Google Assistant on the computer. I'm not sure why. It just hasn't used as much as I would have thought. Listen, I'm not going to claim that I use the Pixelbook Pen more than I have. I've probably used it about 4 times, but it does work. It works well. It's had software updates to make the experience even better. Battery life is good on. I haven't had to replace it, but I don't use the thing. So obviously, the Pixelbook, one of the big draws behind it, crazy thin, but it also bends and you can go different modes, a tent mode or presentation mode. I've used that less than I thought I would as well. Sometimes if I'm showing something to someone or showing a document to my wife, I'll put it in tablet mode. But honestly, I mostly use it as a laptop. Which kind of goes to show I clearly did not need the Pixelbook. I don't think anybody needs a Pixelbook. There's much less expensive options if you want to get into Chrome OS, and $1,000, you're in the world of some really good Windows laptops, perhaps some discounted MacBooks. It's very crowded waters. You really have to want this. Nobody needs it. So here's what it's boiled down to. For the most part, my initial thoughts after a few months still ring true. The battery life has been a surprising disappointment with the Pixelbook. I still love the speed in which it boots up. That's been one of the biggest reasons why I use it. Turn it on, do something quick, turn it off, and be done. People have used it for things like video editing with Android apps. I haven't necessarily pushed it that far. If I have to video edit, I'll use my regular laptop to do it. Speakers have been awesome. I love the fact that it's got 2 USB Type-C ports on it. Use either for charging. It does charge very fast, so that's been nice to sort of counter the depleted battery experience that I've had. At $1,000, I cannot recommend this. At the top spec model at almost $1,800, I can't imagine who that is for. There's been rumors that Google might allow a dual boot where you could put Windows 10 on it. Then you can certainly see more utility. Right now, it's been a very nice extravagance. I don't think that I'll buy the new version. I'll probably just still stick with this. Chrome OS seems to be fine, but I'm less jazzed about it due to that battery life. So that's been the final review of the Pixelbook. It still does what I thought it was going to do, just can't necessarily do it as long. If you guys like these final reviews, these sort of last revisit of these products before they hit their end of life and get replaced with a newer version, also let us know in the comments. And the best way to let us know too is give the video a thumbs up. We always appreciate that. Until next time, I'm John Rettinger from Techno Buffalo.